Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. And I've put together the top 7 key market drivers I look at when analyzing a real estate market. Go to sethferguson.org to download your free copy. Our guest today began investing in real estate in 1996 and publicly documented his journey to creating a passive income stream. Al Williamson joins us today. Al, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Seth, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for sharing me with your audience.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. I'm really looking forward to this. So to kick things off, let's talk about your real estate goals right now. What are they?
Right now, I am looking for, this sounds pretty arrogant, but I'm looking to retire my daughters now.
Nice.
With a cash flow stream.
And
so that's what I'm working on.
Nice. And are your daughters close to retirement age?
No, they're 8 and 16. Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah. I think your 8-year-old might be the first one to retire before she leaves school.
That is the goal. That is the goal.
That's awesome.
Keep it rolling forward. Yeah. So it's kind of a 100-year plan. And that's what I'm working on right now. Fortunately, I'm able to kind of focus on that.
Yeah, and so would it be correct to say that legacy aspect of real estate is the most important to you right now?
Actually not. Actually, doing creative stuff and that sparks joy for me. And as a byproduct of it, with this, I want to establish long-term cash flow streams. So that, and then of course, put them in tax preferred vehicles as much as possible, and just be really smart about what I do, so I don't have to do too much. Yeah. That's the goal, Seth. I want to do as little as possible now.
Nice, and that's a really good spot to be in. So, but obviously, you're at the point now where you're able to think about that. What was your goal like when you first started? Because I'm sure you weren't thinking about retiring your daughters when you were going after your first property.
No, first goal was to be a millionaire. I wanted to be rich.
Nice.
To be really, really rich. So that was, I know I was fortunate enough to have gone to a church picnic just before I got married. And a guy pulled me over and said, why don't you think about you guys getting a duplex instead of a regular house, which was going on in 1996. So I went to the library and read from one side of the catalogs all the way to the other side and started hearing these reoccurring trends. And I was like, this really works. You can add value to things. And that really appealed to my creative side, which seemed like that my creative side was working for me better than my analytical side, even though I was an engineer. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those guys who can help other people pass an exam, but can't pass it get a B on it myself. So I'm one of those guys. So I did, and it just happened. It just so happened that we got a 3-unit Victorian, and it just so happened that we got in an area that was fast improving. And as it turned out, on paper, it looked like I hit my $1 million by accident. And I got there, and I didn't help anyone else get there. And I looked at my goal, and I said, it's not really what I wanted.
And
after all.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I find with lots of guests mention that they'll start off with this one goal when they're fresh in the game, and then they realize that when they hit it, it's not the be all and end all.
Yes, it was an empty sound to it, and it didn't feel right. So from there, I went on to start helping a neighborhood improve. So I said that'd be more rewarding. So I got a bigger unit. I got an 8-unit building, and start working on actually trying to get the neighborhood to improve. So you do that by picking up litter and reporting burnt out streetlights and talking to your neighbors and forming a phone list, at the time. Those types of things that probably brings order to the neighborhood. And so I was able to attract nicer tenants, and it started to snowball. And that 8-unit building is the cash flow from that what's allowed me to walk away from my engineering job. So I started picking up trash and serving other people, and then it turns out to be something that paid me back nicely afterwards.
Yeah. And how important do you think it was to have that mindset going in, the serve first and then receive later? What, do you think that was a huge factor in your success?
It absolutely was. You see a lot of leadership books or people that you'll talk to and admire, and they'll tell you the same thing. You create more value than you capture. You can do that all day long without burning yourself out. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do some nonprofit work for 3 years, and in there I negotiated this 2-week stay at Harvard. It was a sweet negotiation on my behalf, and it was a very opulent, lots of wealth there, lots of stuff. But one thing, besides just being blown away with how wealthy everyone was, is I walked back with this lesson that if you use your talents towards helping other people, then you really have an enjoyable life. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I like leading people. I like neighborhood development. And that's how it turned out. So it didn't take any effort. Well, it didn't feel like it was out of my character to grow my leadership skills and lead a neighborhood to improve or advocate for a neighborhood. It felt like the perfect thing to do. It just so happens that I put myself in the path of development and path of capturing some of that equity I was creating, which is what I strongly advise people to do, because landlords essentially are paid to take care of the neighborhood. The better the neighborhood looks, the more orderly the neighborhood is, the more they can lift their rents and have fewer problems and attract better tenants. So I put that in the landlord's professional job description in my mind.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how, your original goal was, monetary, you focus with making $1 million, and then it's a total shift. And then you were somebody that people looked up to. You were a leader in the community. That's really cool, is to see that the big 180 change in that.
Yeah. See, like most things, leadership is a lid on things, right? The leader puts the lid on it. We put it on our own businesses. As the leader, we have to develop ourselves to make more money. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And if you do it in a way that's not sleazy, then before you know it, you look up and you have all the money you really need.
Yeah. No, well, 100%. And going back in time for when you were buying that triplex with the 3 units, where you had never done anything like it before. Were you nervous going in? Because I talked to lots of people where they say, "Hey, I want to get into real estate," but they never pull the trigger. So what allowed you to pull the trigger and do the deal?
At the point when I was reading through all those books and I started to see this reoccurring theme, or I knew things, and then I built my confidence that way. I had to actually do the work before I built my confidence, and then it seemed like a natural thing to do. Now, I was a gymnast growing up.
Oh, cool.
So I was always facing my fears on, this next trick or whatever. You got to do it without being spotted or someone helping you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to facing that and pushing myself a little bit, or past that point of inaction. So that's how sports kind of tie into real estate, or taking action right there. So that's how it happened. But of course, you're scared. I'm still scared on the things I'm trying now. And that's when I'm at my best, actually.
Yeah. Well, if you're not scared, you're not pushing your comfort zone and you're not growing, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So kind of just like you take the airwaves and you tell people about what you're doing, and that holds you accountable. So keep pushing you forward, right?
Yep. Because you don't want to look like an idiot saying one thing and failing to live up to it.
That's it. So you're setting yourself up on this pathway to, if you stay with this broadcasting, which is one of the principles of abundance, spreading information, you're going to look up and say, well, I need to set a new financial goal.
Yeah, that is so true, because the quality of guests that come on the show, every episode has so many good nuggets of information in it, and the opportunities that have presented itself because I'm able to have those discussions with people. I never would have imagined when I started doing the show. It
Yep.
has exceeded all expectations.
Yep. You're on the abundance roadway. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And so what prompted you then to document your journey? Because most people, they'll start acquiring real estate and they don't, they just keep it to themselves. So what inspired you to spread the word?
Well, I like how-to books. As a how-to type of person, I love that idea. I like the idea of setting this big goal, setting myself up. So I put myself under pressure, because that's how it just happens to be how I operate. I can't do it. I'm not good on exams. I'm good at when, only in clutch situations am I good. So I had to kind of put myself under pressure to find it. One of my favorite sayings is I stumbled upon making this quote that we should not wait for a disaster before we tap into our greatness. Because we see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's a tornado, then the neighborhood gets together. Someone's near death, then people kind of rally around and tell them that I love you and all those things.
Yeah.
So, but we always possessed it. So we can put ourselves in that path so we're not limiting our own potential. I think that's a great way to live.
Yeah. No, I really like that. That's a good quote.
Well, you can use it. Just royalties. Don't forget my royalty.
That's right. Yeah. I'll have my attorney call your attorney and we'll set something.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So have you developed any routines or rituals that have helped make you successful?
I picked up some new ones. My favorite ones now are this little app I have on my phone. It's called Think Up. It allows you to record your affirmations that you pick.
Oh, cool.
And in your own voice, and then they play music in the background. But what it's doing is you're programming your own subconscious instead of it being done for you by television and your friends and everything. You're kind of taking control of your own programming. And I like listening to that in the car while I'm on the plane, just letting it loop around, because that repetition, it's been ever since Napoleon Hill, Carnegie. Everyone knows about repetition, aligns in with prayer and chanting, and it's been around for centuries. And essentially, from a engineerish type of standpoint, is we're programming our subconscious, and our subconscious has the final say on everything. Everything we do, everything we actually get done, your subconscious can sabotage you, or it can propel you forward. So I'm really paying attention to what the thoughts I repeat in my head, because they can be positive or negative, or they can be on neutral, and other people could be programming me, or I can take advantage of how we're all constructed with that subconscious and program it myself on stuff that I want to accomplish and the person I want to become, and that type of thing.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing affirmations yourself?
So I've been off and on because there was too much work, so this has been for like 3 months or so. It's really helped me stretch out in the things that I'm doing. I've taken on some bigger projects now. Before I just got to the point where I was fine, my family was fine, and I really wasn't outwardly focused anymore. The neighborhood that I worked on improving is fine, so I kind of needed a new mountain to climb. So that's when I started back up. I joined a mastermind group, and I surrounded myself with some people that are further ahead in the game on real estate than I am. So picking up their best habits, and which is addressing your personal habits, so that you can move to the next level of your choosing. So that's it. I just don't want to have a bunch of regrets when I'm older.
Yeah. No,
it scares me to death.
Yeah. No, I'm on the same brainwave as you are. And you mentioned the mastermind group, and that's one thing I've learned from other successful people. They want to surround themselves and put themselves in that mind space of people farther ahead. And I've done that with myself, people who are light years ahead of me. And it's interesting how it must be subliminal, or you just pick up the nuances, but you start hanging around with successful people, you will start picking up their habits before you even know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And then once you join, here's a big nugget. Once you join, you can't be passive. You have to, because these things are usually, the good ones are expensive, or at least $1,000 and more per month.
Yeah.
So you can't just get in there and expect them to serve you. You actually have to know that the door's open. Now it's time for you to go and add value to those other people and to create income streams with those people. And then it really pays off.
Yeah. No.
Then you start, when you go through when someone's like if you're a person that's ahead of you in whatever aspect, if you go through a challenge with them, then you really start picking up the same mental habits that they have. And I think that's been the biggest helper for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. No,
Yeah.
that was I really enjoyed the first half of the show. We had some good stuff.
Good.
Yeah. So let's talk about a Keystone deal. So a deal that made a big impact on you. Is there one that comes to mind?
Oh, absolutely. This turnaround of this 8-unit apartment building, which was the drug and crime gang headquarters and prostitution headquarters for this neighborhood. So I decided to purchase it, and then I offered everyone $500 to move out in 30 days, and they happily accepted. And the neighbors around, they were just thanking me for it, because they're like, the police couldn't do it. No one could do it. The old landlord couldn't get this. We didn't have one peaceful night's sleep without gunfire in the past 3 years. So, the sound of gunfire. So that started it, and that was in 2002. And the process of bringing order to the neighborhood is, well, numbers wise, I purchased it for $340 back then, which was, you could buy a house or you could buy an 8-unit apartment building in California. So now it's about 1.3, 1.4 appraisal. And I do a lot of corporate housing in the units. So it's just something that I can't imagine doing anything else. It was the best thing I could have done. It's the most impactful thing on my life, was to do that and see it through, and be criticized for doing it, and have those people eventually come around and say thank you for what you did. And now people say, well, you're just lucky that you bought it at that time.
Yeah, you're an overnight success. It just took you 20 years to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how it goes.
Yeah. And so when you purchased the property, you knew it was going to be a pretty heavy lift. There were lots of problems. How did you prepare yourself to be able to, fight through, you mentioned gunfire every night,
Right.
How do you get yourself in the right mind to tackle this problem?
It was arrogance.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I thought I could do it. I could just go and talk to them. I felt no one talked to them, type of thing. But there were some structural and family legacy issues, financial blueprints, and addiction issues, and issues with self-confidence of these people that were living there. They felt like they would just fail if they tried something, and they didn't have enough money to pay for a deposit anywhere else, which was the financial. They're in government assistance and didn't have a deposit, so there's no way they could have moved under any circumstances. So Cash for Keys gave them a stepping stone, also with the excuse that I was going to renovate the building and they had to move. It gave them the tools and the money so that they could go do it. Essentially, we were asking them to plant without having any seeds. So you got to give people the seeds so they can plant, so that they can have a harvest, or at least an opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And it was very inexpensive, less than the cost of an eviction, was to give to Cash for Keys. So, and they wanted to have a change of pace themselves. So it was giving them the ability to turn the page. and it's also giving them enough information so they can make some new decisions for themselves. So that's how it all worked out. And I think most people can have the same opportunity because there's always these underserved neighborhoods, and there's always now what city are you in?
Well, I'm based just outside of Toronto in Canada.
Okay. So
Yeah.
even there's a neighborhood that's good neighborhood, and then on the next block is a bad neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the opportunities. Everyone has them. Those are the opportunities to make some big equity gains right there by helping that fringe, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, the neighbors were telling you it was the first time they hadn't heard gunshots. So that must make you feel pretty good that you were able to have such a big impact on, their safety, their ability to enjoy their lives and not worry about stuff, right?
Right. So that was the first of it. Of course, the road was still treacherous. I still had to power through. It wasn't all easy after that, but that part of real estate, because remember, I'm defining a landlord as someone who helps their neighborhood advance, not just extracts money out of it, but actually fertilizes the crop too. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You take care of your neighborhood, you advocate for it. That's when that really started to form in my head, that thought, and how it felt. It felt right. It felt like I could do this for years to come. So that's how I stumbled onto that, and I like to share that with people because I think it would take away that stigma that the word landlord has on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are people who just run a property into the ground and they just try and take every single penny. But like you said, that's not thinking long term. Sure, there might be a short term gain of some sort, but long term, you just end up, shooting yourself in the foot.
Absolutely. When I look at it, I'm thinking people must think it's a short term benefit somehow, some way, but I just don't see it. I see management headaches. I see every property I feel is a physical representation of the owner. So you can't feel good about it. It just I just don't see any benefits to letting a property run to the ground at all, when all you have to do is clean up the front yard, advocate, talk to the neighbors, try to be honorable yourself and attract honorable people. And I haven't said anything that costs any money. It's absolutely free to do those things. To talk to your neighbor is really absolutely free. That's why it has such a huge ROI, and I think people should definitely incorporate that into their investing.
Yeah, no, really good advice. So we mentioned at the start you were hoping to retire your daughters. Like that's what you're working towards now. That's your goal. How are you planning? Because my little guy is 2.5 right now. Yeah. And so one of the things going through my head is, well, how can I pass along my real estate knowledge to him so he's able to see the opportunity? So how are you planning on taking what you've learned and passing it on to your children?
I saw you had Quincy Long on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he does a lot of teaching. He's taught me a lot about self-directed IRAs for your 2-year-old. It's not too early. And if you can put a note inside of it that your child doesn't have to manage, it's just now money coming to his account, then you put them in a situation where they can learn about real estate, absolutely. But if you can, the path of growing your real estate and then converting the equity into notes, that cash flow for you without you doing anything is pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at notes for my girls for right now. It's like moving things, creating notes, creating partnerships, and getting their self-directed IRAs and as part owners of different things.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think that because when I first discovered real estate investing, there was nobody around that exposed me to it. So I think it's very important for us to be able to pass along that way of looking at assets and looking at real estate to our children so we can kind of keep them, with their eyes wide open and exploring opportunities.
Right. So I kind of walk them through this term called the family bank. If you should catch George Anton or someone like that talks about family bank, teaching them how to lend money and how to manage their paper. So I absolutely love real estate, but my girls, I have two girls, they're not necessarily people that are confrontational or that part of it, or they're not exactly, maybe I'm being chauvinistic, but don't want to unclog a sink and do the plunging, all that stuff that I love doing, and that goes with flipping and managing a long-term portfolio. So it's more, how do you manage a manager type of thing, and how do you read a balance sheet, and how do you what do you do with this equity once you amass it?
Yeah.
So that can fit their personality, because real estate can fit just about anybody's personality. That's what I love about it. No matter what you want to do, if you want like the numbers and want to fractionalize real estate notes, or you like decorating and want to flip houses or create corporate rentals, you can absolutely do it. You can express yourself through real estate, and that's why I guess so many people are fans of it, including me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This is going to be much longer than a half-hour show if you get me going.
No, we'll have to have you back on for episode number, whatever episode number we're on at that point.
Okay. Once a year.
Yeah, once a year. So how would you say real estate has changed your life so far?
Well, it's given me the ability to leave, never have to be in a cubicle again, never have to have another job performance review. I just hated those things with a passion. So, and it's allowed me to be home and drive my kids to work and pick them up, and not travel as nearly as much as I have, and to catch the band concerts and show up at open house for school, things like that. All that ties back to the cash flow and not having to check in with an employer. So I'm very grateful for just the little things, like being with you here in the middle of the day and not having to ask anyone for time off. It's incredible. It means the world to me, that we have more passive income coming in than our expenses. That is everything to me.
Yeah.
Well, I could go on and on. I'm just grateful about just being able to buy a steak based when I get a rent check,
Yeah.
I absolutely love all of that.
Yeah. Well, a good steak, you can never turn that down.
That's right.
Yeah. And a lot about what you were saying was that time freedom, right? That there's nobody looking over you, because, you can have, money is one thing, but time is your most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No.
Absolutely. So letting folks motivate that should be a big motivator, is to be able to, staff yourself to your own mission, to your own goals instead of to an employer's goal, if you're wired that way. Yeah. I happen to be wired that way, and I'm lousy at doing repetitive things. So setting myself up the way I am now, it took 20 years of working as a civil engineer to get here, or before I even realized that there was such a thing that could happen, or before I even met Quincy and all these other people that you've interviewed that have been instrumental in showing me the boundaries of what's possible, So I guess for your listeners, I want to encourage them to keep at it and keep stretching yourself. If you find yourself comfortable, like I was just a little while ago, put yourself out there so that you're creating value for other people in the way that you feel gifted at, and stay engaged so that you really have a life worth living, not just money and things.
Yeah. No, that's this has to be, I think, one of my favorite interviews I've done.
Oh,
I've
great.
really enjoyed the stuff we've talked about today.
It sounds like you're the same mindset because you're creating value with these by extracting and asking hard questions and pushing for no fluff. So
Absolutely.
that's incredible. I mean, it's an
Yeah.
incredible gift to people who are just starting off on real estate. And congratulations for doing that.
No, thank you. And it's the whole idea behind this is, when I was introduced to real estate, I had I was never exposed to the investing side before. So, at least this way, I'm able to interview people who are succeeding at it. And it's just making that knowledge more accessible than, you had to go to the library and look through
Yeah,
books in
yeah,
1996. Now you can just go
yeah.
on YouTube, right?
That's it. There's a lot of how-to stuff, and absolutely, you can find someone who resonates with your personality, and just do what they've done. It's
Yep.
kind of like that. Just do what they've done and get the same results.
Yeah, for sure. So, Al, if somebody's looking to get in touch with you, learn more about what you're doing, where can they find you?
They can find me all over the internet, but the best place is just to email me at al@leadinglandlord.com. And I have a blog that I kind of put the different things, what I'm doing and what I'm working on. I fashion myself as a landlord scientist, so I'm always doing experiments. And that's blog is leadinglandlord.com because I'm interested in boldly going where no landlord has gone before. So leadinglandlord.com.
That's great. Well, I'll just want to say thanks so much for taking the time today and sharing those very valuable nuggets of information.
My pleasure. Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it. And
All right.
to you, our viewers, I wish you well on your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.